Class number 374. It's all about God. And this is June 9th, 2022. It's all about God. And this will make all of the spiritual sense that it could possibly make as we wade in this water. Let's start with the statement, God is light, in whom there is no darkness. There can be no darkness. God is light. This title came to me as well as the body of this work, this sharing, this revelation. It came about as a couple of nights ago when I went to bed. I was contemplating these words. I didn't even pick them. They picked me, and it was the God I am. The God I am. And I just kept thinking about the God I am. And as I just listened, I was just listening. The God I am. And then it flipped and it changed. I am God. It was like, the God I am God. And I just keep thinking, I'm just, without even trying to think about it, it's just the golden key is golden keying me. And then it went to, Jesus said, I am the light. I am the life. And I'm thinking, this is the light that lights every man. And you notice he didn't say, I will be. You know how sometimes somebody says, how you doing? Oh, I'm going to be okay. Nope, he didn't say that. He said, I am the light. Not I'm going to be. Well, that means I am the life. And life is always okay. And so then he turned around and said, you are the light of the world, which means you are the life of the world. Not you will be when you come into some understanding. You already are this. And so actually, God, light, is all that we can claim ourselves to be. There's nothing else. We cannot drift off into being something other than this light. But how many times have we tried to claim, I am this light, or I am the life, or I am this, or I am that? And people will tell you, if you just keep saying that long enough, then you'll become this. You won't become it. You already are this, because I am and becoming are two different things, and becoming just really never really fits the mold of Jesus saying you already are this light. So what has to happen? There has to be a cleanse. This John 15, you are cleansed by the word. But again, in the beginning was the word. And the word was with God, and the word was God. And the word, and this is the way it's written, became flesh. But the word really is flesh. It already is. It's the word. It's God. It's the idea. And so therefore, it doesn't become anything. It already is. So what is this cleanse that we're talking about that has to happen? And that is, well, the best way for me to explain it to you is a dream I had the other night. And most of you know that when I tell you that I dream of my wife almost every night. In fact, I dreamed of her last night too. It's just one of those things that it's there. And about 99% of the dreams I've had about her have been very positive, always something like I'm helping you, I'm leading you somewhere, or I'm an angel that's keeping you in the way. I've had all those kinds of dreams. However, the other night, the dream I had was I was trying to stop her from leaving the house, and she went through a room, but this is a room that you can't go through. The room here in my house is my laundry room, and there's only one way in there and one way out. There are not two doors. And so she ducked into the laundry room, And I ducked in there to try to catch her, but she wasn't there. And so then I came out of the laundry room the way you normally come out, and she was already at the door and was going out, and I was trying to stop her. And she went on out. And I said, oh, man, and all of the memories of me having to go out sometimes in the dark of night and get her, find her. Sometimes it's in the daytime, sometimes it's night. I would have to go find her and get her back home. I've been in people's backyards and getting her and what have you. In fact, one person called the police on me one day, and I had to prove I was her husband and I was trying to get her home. And this guy, the policeman, was like, okay, we'll put her in our car, and where do you live? And I told them, and they brought her home, and I followed them. And I had proved that I was her husband. This was what was going on over the years that I was taking care of her. And this guy became basically a friend, because the next time somebody called, he took the call and said, that's okay, I already know who that is. That's Michael Orr, and I'll go over and I'll take care of it. He came over and he said, it happened again, huh? I said, yep. And he said, okay, well, I'll help you. And we got her back home. We've had times where Jamal and Ahmad and Jeremiah were with us, and we would get her back home, and she wouldn't come home until Ahmad would go up to her and say, Grandma, come on, let's go home. And then she'd take him by the hand, and we came home. And that's kind of like the worst things that I had to deal with. However, just from that dream, it reminded me of all kinds of memories of stuff that would go awry, even though I've heard these terrible stories of people whose loved one or their parent or somebody like that would go through with this thing called Alzheimer's, and they were talking about how terrible it was. And I didn't have it that terrible. However, it was uncomfortable. You never knew what was going to happen, but the memories were there. The memories of me cleaning up messes and all kinds of struggles, and me trying to get her to go to her regular doctor appointment, and her not wanting to get out the car, and me having to lift her up into the car, and all those memories came back. And the words from that dream, I went, why am I having this dream? She's not here anymore as far as physically, and why am I having this dream? And what popped in my head was Ecclesiastes. And God said, I'm erasing all of those memories. Ecclesiastes 3. What God has done is done forever. You can add nothing to it nor take it away. Remember, we've been talking about Ecclesiastes now for months. And it was that which is to be has already been. That which has been is now. But the verse I was not paying attention to was, in the King James, it says, God will require your past. God requires your past. I looked it up in my Aramaic version of the Bible, and it says, God will avenge you of your persecutions, your persecutors. And I said, well, who's persecuting me? And the voice said, your thoughts. Your thoughts come up to accuse you. Remember, we said the sons of God presented themselves to the Lord, and Satan came too. Those thoughts of the past, of all of the terrible situations, of stuff that you felt were unbearable, stuff that you couldn't do anything about, that stuff is coming at you, telling you, you could have done more, you could have done this, you could have helped out more, you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, and all of that stuff. It says God will avenge you of those persecutions. God requires the past. And my attitude was, okay, God. I'm one of those that my son and my daughter, they just say, Dad says to God whatever he feels. I said, okay. All right, my attitude was, God, since you want these persecutions and you want to pass so bad, you can have it, okay, because it's not doing me any good. It's causing me dis-ease. And so I accepted that, and I just said, let's just let it, okay, you can have this. See, faith appears to be in the past. When you think about the Aramaic definition of faith, it says faith is the conviction of those things that we expect. But this is the part that makes it feel like it's the past. As it was, that word was, as it was the action of those things that are in existence now, and the revelation of things not seen. So that tells you that faith is really that tool that God is using and has already erased the past, has already done what it is that we needed done. Things appear to be the past because of the world we appear to live in. Now, we have to come to an understanding that there's only one world, and that one world is God. So it appears that we're in the past, but we're not, because the past is now. We just appear to live in this past. But God made everything by way of the Spirit. See, we think I made up my mind yesterday, and so that was past. I made up my mind I was going to do ding, 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 ding. So when it finally happens, meaning we look out here for the result, yeah, I made up my mind about this last week. But in reality, when you made up your mind, the thing happened right then, because the thing is an idea. And so everything is actually right now. And so God is, and nothing can ever change from these outer persecutions or these outer so-called errors or evils, or whatever you want to call them. They don't change. These images don't change except faith by grace. And it erases the errors of memory, because most of the stuff that appears to be happening in our experience, they're just happening as a result of things that we remember. Things, this happened the last time, and, you got to be on the lookout for this, and you got to be on the lookout for that. But when you really understand, He perfects that which concerns me, I don't have to have a concern about it. That, again, a tall order, very tall order. However, God says He got this. So let's go back and look at what Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. Again, let's repeat, God is light in whom there is no darkness. So God is all. What is all this stuff I'm looking at out here then? That's just appearances that come as a result of this false sense of who we think we are. It believed certain things, and these things are coming back saying, this happened last time, so you got to believe in this, and you really don't. You see, as the light, we are all. All of God is in and as us right now, and nothing can change that. I use this example often. You see, if you go down to the bay, or let's make it even easier. Let's say you go get a bucket of water out of the Atlantic Ocean. I don't care if you in the Bahamas, or I don't care if you're in Florida, or I don't care if you are outside New York. You get a bucket of the Atlantic Ocean, you have the same ocean. All of the Atlantic Ocean is in that bucket. Nothing differentiates except the bucket. And that doesn't even differentiate, because the bucket is an idea that's coming from the light. The water in the bucket is the light, and the water in the ocean is the light. And it can't be changed, because it is a divine idea. Again, let's say that again now. It's a divine idea coming from the light, because, remember, this is all about God. This is not about our personal sense of who we think we are. This is about God. God appearing as you, me, and everything that God created. And it's all perfection. When it doesn't look right, we need to change how we're seeing it. We need to continue to talk to ourselves about what's really here. God is really here. Light is really here. The divine idea from God is really here. So we come to know that we can do treatment, we can pray about apparent errors. However, we need to know that perfection is right there, where the error is staring us in the face, glaring us in the face. People call me from time to time to tell me about their situations and what I pray about them. Yesterday, my daughter said something that was, I've been through it before. I've been through it, and she was explaining it yesterday. She was saying, Daddy, you know what? People can call and ask me if I would pray for them, and I tell them okay and what have you. She said, and in no time, they'll get back to me and tell me, guess what happened? It'll be something good and something just really just worked out and all is well. She said, and I realized that the reason that doesn't work that way for me personally is because I'm unattached to what they ask me to pray about, but in my own personal lifestyle, I'm totally attached to it. And I'm looking for it to change, and I'm looking for the results and this, and this. And I said, yeah, and that's because you'll call me and ask me to pray. I said, but guess what? Because it's you, I'm tempted to get really attached to it. I said, and it takes a while for that detachment to really come into play. You know, the Buddhists, they live the detached life. They don't attach themselves to anything out here that, as far as they're concerned, is personal. See, it's already perfect. In Isaiah 65:24, we say this all the time, before they call, I have answered. So there's nothing to change, but there is something that we have to know. There's no doubt about it. And we have to know, just as there's no difference in a bucket of water from the ocean and the ocean, we have to know that there's no difference in God and man, male and female. The conviction must be one life, one truth, one self, one I am presence. This is the light, the fulfillment that which I am. A bay bucket of water, meaning if the Chesapeake Bay is the same water that's out there in the ocean, man and God, light and us. To put it short, we are buckets of God. We are buckets of that light. And so, everything that's you and all associated with you are perfect in heaven, because we're all this same light. There's no difference. And this is God, the unchanging one. God, the only being, light. See, when we make up our minds that God is the light, unchanging, and we understand this, are convicted by it, and understand that there is nothing that can change that light, we are following Jesus in his understanding. We are the light of the world. We are the truth. You see, our life is not a personal life that we can go out and do something with. Our life springs out of God, and that includes health, wealth, and wisdom. See, what good is to have health and wealth and don't have any wisdom, any ability to remain that which God has created? We have to understand that it's all about God. It is not about some personal sense of ourselves, some personal Michael Orr who has some gifts and needs to go out and be successful so God will be pleased with him. God's only pleased by faith. And without faith, it's impossible to please God. But there's no way for us to be without faith because all have this measure of faith. Why? Because we are the light. We have to understand that it's all about God. Remember in Genesis 1, God said, let there be light. Let there be life. What happened after God said, let there be light? The Spirit moved over the face of the waters. And God said, let there be. Let there be. Let there be. See, God makes all things out of this light. God is performing that which is appointed unto us. That's Job 22:14. God perfects that which concerns me. Appearances will concern your personal sense of yourself. However, understanding that I am light, I sprang out of God, I can rest and wait back and let God erase this appearance. But if I start fighting with it and trying to get it to go and yelling at it and telling it it's not the truth, that takes me deeper and deeper into attachment. But if I realize I'm this bucket of light and I sprang out of the light which God is, then I am now this life eternal. And nothing can change it. Nothing can change this. Nothing. Paul said, nothing can separate me from this love of God, which I am. So, we keep telling ourselves truth. No matter the appearance, we keep telling myself this is who I am. Now, what I mean by telling myself is I keep acting unconcerned. Tall order. However, that is the only way. You know, people always say there are many ways to God. Nope. There's only one way to God. There are many channels. A lot of channels, but there's only one way, and I am the way. So as I continue to understand this, continue to live in this consciousness, I'm constantly speaking, knowing, and contemplating the truth about God. I heard Joel Goldsmith say this one time, and it was hard for me to understand, but then it became a reality. There is no truth about man other than the truth about God. The same truth about God is the same truth about man, male and female. So the next step is I got to quit looking for results. I got to quit looking for, maybe I should say outer results. Images to change. I got to stop looking for that. And the only change is I step away from my personal sense of self, this personality person. You see, the only result is going to be a change in consciousness. And there's really not a change in consciousness. There's an erasing of personal consciousness, beliefs. And so I know without looking or seeing, God's promises are kept. That's a decision that has already been made. The promises are already kept. God has kept his promises to himself. God promised himself. God looked at Abraham and said, kings are going to come out of you. In you shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Well, wait a minute. Why in Abraham? Because Abraham believed God. His consciousness was, I am the light. And so God started bringing greatness out of himself, which he called himself Abram, and then changed it to Abraham, from father of exalted father to father of nations. What we call this in the New Testament is being born again. If you look at the Aramaic translation of Psalm 46:10, where it says, be still and know that I am God, the word they use in Aramaic is repent. Change. Change from thinking the way we have been thinking. Change that thought to that which is. That means I'm not taking any thought about my so-called personal life, what to eat, what to drink, how to be clothed. And my whole attitude now is, this is about God. This is about God feeding itself. God clothing itself. God maintaining and sustaining God's universe. And I am a part of that universe because I am one with God. God has already taken care of me. Psalm 24. Jesus knew this beyond the shadow of any kind of doubt. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. God does not see evil and believe it to be any type of a power. God's not fighting with anything. And so when God, I did a post the other day, when we see as God sees, then we are under the shadow of the Almighty. We are in the secret place of the Most High. We are protected. What are we protected from? A personal sense of self. We're protected from believing in that because in and of ourselves, that personal self, we can't do anything. But this Father that dwells within consciousness, the only consciousness that there is. There's no human mortal consciousness. There's no carnal man. That's just an appearance, something that presents itself along with us as we present ourselves to the Father. So this is immortality, God's earth, God's world, they that dwell therein. And this includes immortal man. Immortal man is all there is. I might as well say immortal mankind. You see, all Jesus' healings were the result of knowing that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. They that dwell therein can't get sick, can't die, can't be without. They can't experience lack. That personal sense is what's experiencing that lack, but not the they that dwell therein. They dwell in God. And God is the light. We are always the light, always. No darkness, no condemnation. God couldn't condemn you if he tried, doesn't even know what it is. What made me understand this was over there in Isaiah 55, your thoughts are not my thoughts. That means our job is to reject these thoughts. 2 Corinthians 10:5, we have to cast down all imaginations and thoughts and words, those things that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God. That's just as plain. Paul knew this. That's what he said. We have to reject those things. The power in us automatically rejects those things that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God. It's about God. It's always about God. Paul knew Christ is living my life. It is no longer this I, this personal sense that's living. God is living this life. My life is fixed, trusting in the Lord. Psalms 112. Wealth and riches are in my house. They're in the consciousness. They're in the light. The same wealth and riches that God is are the same wealth and riches that we are. We have to be one with God because there's nothing else to be one with. Jesus, again, I am the light of the world. This thing is totally about God. It's all about God. And that means it's all about you. There is no distinction. It is not about what you do. It's about what you know, and most importantly, about who you are. You cannot change. Never change. You wouldn't want to. You don't have any need to. The only thing that you change is you stop looking at appearances that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God. Your idea is you reject those, and your mind is constantly on, this is about God. This thing is coming to God. You know, the sons of God presented themselves to the Lord. They were all accepted. Satan came in, wasn't accepted. Satan is this thought that's going on in Job. Maybe I've offended God. You can't offend God. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. So these error thoughts that are coming, what are they? I've gotten to where I see these error thoughts as clouds. These clouds that run in front of the sun. And it looks dark. But these clouds move. And we just wait patiently because we know the clouds are not going to be there forever. Just like when we say the sun goes down, right? The earth moves around. And it's PM instead of AM. That's just our way of keeping up with things that we will have to do, plans that we make. Nobody's going to make a plan to go on vacation and it's going to be dark all the time. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to plan to go out and put themselves in a situation where they can't recover from something that is ridiculous. We know better than that. So, God, man will make a plan, God directs the steps. That's just so important to me. Man makes his plans, God directs his steps. I plan to do X. God directs how I'm going to do it. Remember we talked about that a few minutes ago? Wealth, health, wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to do the thing that God has appointed unto us. However, God has appointed the thing to himself, and God has already done it. We are the light that is moving and sharing that light, sharing that love. It is appointed unto us to see everybody as the light, even when they seemingly appear to consider themselves something other than. This knowing is what we call faith, that firm conviction of expectations of truth. Why? Because it was the action of things that are non-existent. Remember, we said the only thing in existence right now are the ideas and the revelation of things not seen. It is revealed to you that all is well, all is done, all is complete. I was reading, I forget what I was reading, but it was a Joel Goldsmith book, and he said, you have all, so how much more you can't add anything to all. You can't take away from all. God says all things are yours. I just felt really good as I was taking notes for myself to share this with you guys, because I realized that from a personal standpoint, You can't make this stuff up. It just already is. It always was and ever shall be. World without end. World without end. Light. There will never be anything that will destroy the light. As God cleansed me from the past, when these memories come up, and be careful, there'll be memories that'll come up that are good. And my only response is supposed to be, yeah, that was a good time, and move on. Yeah, that was a good time. Move on. Don't hang back in there trying, I'm looking for the good old days. They're not coming. There are no good old days coming. There's only the good day. One day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as a day. That sounds like now to me, right now. And so we have to come away with the conviction this is not about a personal sense of thinking that in and of myself I can do something. This is totally all about God. But then again, if it's all about God, it's also all about you. Amen. And so it is.